It's a cold, gray morning in Milan. The trams are starting to roll, and the cafes are filling up with the smell of espresso. On the north side of the city, in a hospital called Niguarda, a baby is being born. That baby is you. Your name is Marco. Welcome to Italy. You're born in Milan, one of Italy's most vibrant, busiest, and most beautiful cities. The moment you arrive, your mother can't hold back her tears of joy. Out in the hallway, your father is having a moment of his own, proudly announcing to anyone within earshot that a new Milan fan has just come into the world. Because your father, like almost every man in your family for 3 generations, is a die-hard Milan fan. The country you were born in has one of the longest average life expectancies in the world. Men live to around 82, women to around 86, and a long, beautiful life is waiting for you too. Your father, Giorgio, is a mid-level office worker at a fashion company in the city center. Your mother, Francesca, is an elementary school teacher. When your father is angry, she's calm. When he's worried, she's patient and steady. Honestly, the one who really keeps this household running is your mom. Most people who live in Italy come from a Catholic background. So does your family. A few months after you're born, you have your baptism, what's called a battesimo in Italian. Your whole family is there beside you for the ceremony. They dress you in a beautiful little white outfit, and afterward, the whole family takes a lovely picture together. A few years after you arrive, your little sister Giulia is born, and now you're a family of 4. The 4 of you live in a small apartment in a quiet neighborhood of Milan. You've got a tiny balcony and a kitchen that always smells like coffee and tomato sauce. On the other side of the city, in another neighborhood, your grandparents live, Nonna Rosa and Nonno Pietro. By the way, in Italian, Nonna means grandmother and Nonno means grandfather. They moved here back in the 1960s. They came from Puglia, way down in the south of Italy. And ever since they settled in Milan, they've never stopped missing Puglia. Nonno Pietro especially never really got used to Milan's weather. In his eyes, it's still a freezing place. Nonna Rosa, meanwhile, still makes orecchietta by hand on a wooden board, those little ear-shaped pasta, just the way her own mother taught her. She's been making them for over 50 years, and she has never given up that recipe. Every Sunday without exception, the whole family gathers at Nonna Rosa and Nonno Pietro's place, usually between 1 and 4 in the afternoon, for Sunday lunch and a long, lazy chat. Nonna Rosa adores you and your little sister Giulia, and she loves nothing more than feeding the 2 of you with her own hands. Childhood in Milan smells like espresso. It's filled with your mother shouting, "You're going to catch a cold! Put a sweater on!" and the steady sound of the tram coming through your bedroom window. When you turn 3, you start kindergarten. In the afternoons, Nonna Rosa picks you up and takes you home, and she takes care of you all day long. You spend hours listening to the stories she tells you and eating that incredible pasta of hers. Meanwhile, your father has a pretty serious plan for you, to turn you into a Milan fan as soon as possible. In fact, the day you were born, he got so excited he bought you a tiny red and black onesie. When your mom saw it, she asked, "What on earth is this?" And your dad answered, "My son's true identity." Your mom didn't see things the same way. She believed that, just like every other decision in your life, the team you'd cheer for should be your own choice. But for your dad, this subject was non-negotiable. As far as he was concerned, you, like almost every other man in the family, were going to be a Milan fan. The first 6 years of your life go exactly according to your father's plan. You walk around the house in your little red and black Milan jersey, and you listen to your dad hum Milan chants whenever he scoops you up for a cuddle, until one particular day. One evening, the whole family is gathered together watching the Milan Inter derby. Inter scores, and everyone in the room falls into a deep silence. Everyone except you. The second the goal happens, you leap into the air, full of excitement, and shout, "Goal!" Seeing your joy, the whole family practically freezes. Your dad stares at you in shock, while your mom bursts out laughing and says, "Looks like fanatic Milan fan Giorgio has an Inter fan for a son." Your father's face turns bright red. He scoops you up in a sweet little panic and says, "Marco, you're a Milan fan. Don't do this to me." But you point at the TV screen, at the Inter players in blue and black celebrating the goal, and say, "They're better." That's the exact moment the sweet little rivalry between you and your father begins. From now on, you're an Inter fan, the odd one out in a family of Milan fans. A few more years go by, and you start elementary school. The basic school system in Italy goes like this. 5 years of elementary school, 3 years of middle school, and then 5 years of high school. At the end of those 13 years, you'll sit for a big exam called the Maturità. But that's still a long way off. Your closest friend in elementary school is a boy named Davide. Davide lives 2 streets away, and just like you, he's an Inter fan. Together, the two of you become a 2-man Inter team, standing up to your dad and his Milan-supporting buddies. This little team rivalry between you and your father will turn nearly every Sunday lunch for the rest of your life into a lively Inter Milan debate. Throughout your elementary school years, you absolutely love collecting football player cards. They're called panini cards. You and your best friend Davide spend the days running around the neighborhood with the other kids, playing soccer until your mom steps out onto the balcony and calls you home. In the summers, you eat plenty of gelato, an Italian kind of ice cream. You ride around the neighborhood on your little bike. You're living a wonderful childhood. As you get older, middle school and then high school come around. When it's time to start high school, your family chooses the Liceo Scientifico, the science track, because your mom believes it's a good fit for you. But once high school begins, the workload gets a lot heavier. For your 16th birthday, your dad does something incredible for you. As a present, he buys 2 tickets to an Inter Milan match, both seats in the intersection. Your fanatic Milan fan father, Giorgio, agrees to sit in the Inter end with you on this huge derby, just because it'll make you happy. You're wearing your blue and black Inter jersey, and he's wearing a plain white t-shirt. Father and son, side by side, you head off to that legendary stadium, the one Inter fans call Giuseppe Meazza, and Milan fans call Siro. During the match, Inter scores, and you celebrate wildly along with all the other Inter fans in the stands, while your father, sitting next to you, does his best not to let on that he's actually a Milan fan. The match ends with an Inter win, and you and your dad climb onto the tram to head home. You're thrilled about the victory. You try to tease your dad about it, but he's not really in the mood to get upset with you. He just puts his arm around your shoulder and says sweetly, "You're absolutely crazy. You know that?" Around the same time, in a high school hallway, you meet a girl named Chiara. With her black hair and dark eyes, you can feel yourself falling for her. The truth is, Chiara is even better at school than you are, even smarter than you, and the way her sharp little mind works only makes you more taken with her. Chiara is from Naples. Her family moved to Milan later. Over time, the two of you grow closer and closer, and before you know it, you're carrying her books and walking her home from school. That fluttering feeling in your chest? You hadn't felt anything like it before, not even at an Inter Milan derby. But like a lot of high school romances, your connection with Chiara eventually comes to an end. When you turn 18, you officially become an adult. On your 18th birthday, Nonna Rosa pinches your cheeks and says, "My Marco is a grown man now," and gives you a big, joyful hug. The whole family celebrates this big step you're taking into adulthood. A year later, you sit for the Maturità, the exam at the end of high school that also gets you into university, and you do well. With that result, you enroll in the economics program at the Università Statale di Milano. Your university years are pretty great. In Italy, there's a tradition called Aperitivo, a kind of get-together before dinner where people unwind after the day, share some small bites, have a drink, and chat. You spend a lot of evenings during university going out for aperitivo with your friends. In those years, you're still living at home. In Italy, most people live with their families well into their late 20s. It's completely normal. The real challenges in your life kick in once you graduate from university. One of Italy's long-running issues is youth unemployment. Most young people leaving university don't land an ideal job right away. They end up in low-paying internships, which means making far less money than a real job. So the years right after university feel like a test of patience for you. You work in low-paying roles, focused on building experience in your field and putting together a solid resume. Toward the end of your 20s, you finally land a real job, something that actually pays well and feels rewarding, at a fashion company in the city center, just like your father once did. You put on a nice shirt, take the metro to work, spend most of the day at a desk, and after work, like a lot of people in Milan, you head out for aperitivo with your coworkers. Around that time, something interesting happens in your life. Remember Chiara, that Neapolitan girl you fell in love with in high school? She comes back into your life. The two of you reconnect on social media after all those years. And it turns out, Chiara never quite forgot you either. The love between you reignites. And at 33, you marry the love of your life, Chiara, in a beautiful church in Milan. Every member of both your families is there. With pasta, wine, and dancing, it's a loud, joyful wedding full of laughter and tears. Watching you get married and start a home of your own, your mom cries all the way through the ceremony. Nonna Rosa and Nonno Pietro, now in their 80s, look on with so much pride. As you're walking out of the church, Nonna Rosa takes your hand and whispers in your ear, "Don't ever make Chiara sad." A few months after your wedding, Nonno Pietro passes away, and for the first time in your life, you have to say goodbye to a member of your family. After Nonno Pietro is gone, the whole family starts spending more time with Nonna Rosa, who's now on her own. A few years later, you become a father, and you and Chiara name your newborn son Pietro in memory of Nonno Pietro. Pietro will be your only child for the rest of your life. As you rock little Pietro in your arms, you find yourself thinking about all the years that have gone by. Where did the time go? You murmur to yourself. The boy who used to sit in Nonna Rosa's lap is now the man holding his own baby. Little Pietro grows up bit by bit. Some days you feed him pastina with parmesan with your own hands. Other days you take him to the park, and at night you sing him lullabies. And the more you look at Pietro, the more deeply you understand what your own mom and dad must have felt while they were raising you. Once Pietro is old enough, you try your best to turn him into an Inter fan like you. But you couldn't really say Pietro is all that into football. As the years go on, Pietro will sit and watch the matches with you, but he'll never be quite as passionate about the game as you are. Your 30s slowly turn into your 40s. Every day you take the tram to the office, and your days are filled with hard work. In August, you take Chiara and Pietro on vacation to Liguria, and for about 2 weeks, you swim in those beautiful Mediterranean waters. You rest, and you spend real time with each other. As the years keep moving along, one winter, 91-year-old Nonna Rosa passes away peacefully in her own bed, with soft Pugliese music playing from a radio in the corner. So after Nonno Pietro, now you also have to say goodbye to Nonna Rosa. At the first Sunday lunch after she's gone, there's an empty chair at the head of the table. Nonna Rosa's chair. Nobody sits in it, and nobody that day even dares to bring up Nonna Rosa. You're all silently thinking about her, missing her, but no one says a word about it. You just quietly eat your meal. As your parents get older, you start visiting them more often. Your dad, that great Milan fanatic, Giorgio, isn't quite as intense as he used to be, but he still loves giving you a hard time. After every interloss, he calls you up cheerfully and walks you through every goal Inter let in, savoring every detail. You can tell he's trying to wind you up, and deep down, you secretly enjoy the back and forth too. The years keep rolling on, and by the time you hit your 50s, first your mother Francesca, and then a few years later your father Giorgio pass away. The people you have left in this life now are your beloved wife Chiara, your handsome son Pietro, and your sister Giulia, whom you don't see all that often but still chat with on the phone from time to time. At 67, you officially retire and finally leave behind that long, exhausting working life. You don't have to get up early in the morning anymore. You sleep a few extra hours, sip your espresso during the day, look out at the Milan skyline from your balcony, and enjoy the calmest years of your life. After a while, your son Pietro meets a lovely young woman and gets married. One day, while you and Chiara are sitting on the balcony talking, Chiara's phone rings. It's your son, Pietro. Pietro is calling with some good news. He tells you a grandchild is on the way. You and Chiara are so overjoyed that the two of you jump up on the balcony, throw your arms around each other, and burst out laughing. The very first thing you do after hearing the news is head out to buy a present for your grandchild-to-be. While you're wandering around a baby store, your eye lands on a little blue and black onesie across the room. You think to yourself, now that is fit for a real Inter fan. Pick it up, and right at that moment, your father Giorgio pops into your head. The minute you were born, he bought you a tiny red and black onesie too. One of his greatest dreams was to turn you into a Milan fan. The thought brings tears to your eyes. And at the same time, a little smile. Your father tried to make you a Milan fan, but you stubbornly chose Inter. Now it's your turn to try. Would you be able to turn your tiny grandson into an Interista? A few months later, your grandson is born, and this time it's your son Pietro who, just like you did, gives his own son his grandfather's name. With his wife on board, the baby is named Giorgio. 5 years go by. The family is sitting together watching another Inter Milan derby. Naturally, your eyes are on your grandson Giorgio. You've been working hard for years to raise him as a die-hard Inter fan. But in the end, what really matters is the choice he makes for himself. You look down at little Giorgio sitting in your lap and ask, "Who do you want to win, Giorgio?" Your grandson points his tiny finger at the players in red and black on the right side of the screen and says, "I want them to win." And just like that, you realize, another Milan supporting Giorgio has come into the world. If my dad is watching from somewhere, you think to yourself, he's probably having a good laugh right now. The years that follow are calm and peaceful. Every morning, you sip a delicious espresso while reading the newspaper. You have a nice lunch with Chiara, and then you take a short afternoon nap to the distant sound of church bells and trams. The years keep moving along like that, and one day, you turn 85. On a sunny Sunday morning, the end of a long and beautiful life arrives. Your beloved wife Chiara, who hasn't left your side for a single moment since the day you got married, is right there with you. So are your son Pietro, your daughter-in-law Sofia, your grandson Giorgio, and your aging sister Giulia. A few days later, a ceremony is held for you in a beautiful church in Milan. Your family, your loved ones, everyone gathers to say goodbye. At the first Sunday lunch after the ceremony, this time it's your chair that's empty. Your son Pietro, your grandson Giorgio, your wife Chiara, and your daughter-in-law Sofia all look for a long time at the empty chair you left behind, and at the blue and black inner jersey resting on it. If you had been born in Italy and lived your life as an Italian man, your life would have most likely looked something like this. Which country's life do you think we should explore in the next video? Don't forget to let us know in the comments.